great. I think the cool thing about that is just you felt the energy in the room, the amount of women sitting in there and so passionate about being a leader in their space, whether it was sport, whether it's business, whatever it is. I think that was what's so cool about it. And obviously, getting to sit next to Annika on stage is pretty special for myself. So
It's kind of funny when you think about it. The WNBA kept telling Caitlin Clark to just focus on basketball and stay in her lane, like she should just be thankful to be there. But then she picks up a golf club and suddenly, everyone's watching her again. No big promotion, no push from the league. She just walked onto the course, took a swing, and the whole crowd locked in on her. Fans leaned over the ropes, players stopped warming up, everyone knew who the main attraction was. And you can bet somewhere in the WNBA office, Cathy Engelbert was watching like, great, now she's popular in another sport too. Because here's the truth no one in the league wants to admit. Caitlin Clark doesn't get attention because she's in the WNBA. The WNBA gets attention because Caitlin Clark is in it. And when that same attention follows her into golf, that's when the panic really starts. When Caitlin stepped up to the tee box at the LPGA Prom, the whole mood changed. People expected a fun little moment, a nice swing, some polite applause, but her focus said something completely different. The way she set her stance, the calm in her posture, you could tell she meant business. She came to compete. And when her club connected with the ball, the sound said it all clean, sharp, and powerful. Everyone stopped for a moment. The ball didn't just go far, it went straight, smooth, and confident. Heads turned. The pros paused. Spectators whispered. You could see it in their faces, that look that says, wait, she's not just here for pictures. That's when the whole conversation shifted. Caitlin wasn't acting like a guest. She was performing like a true athlete, one who could shine in any arena she steps into. Her presence didn't just attract attention, it owned it. Not because of hype, not because of marketing, but because she is the reason people watch. And when a star proves that her spotlight follows her wherever she goes, that's not just impressive, that's power. The LPGA saw that right away. They didn't hesitate, they didn't overthink it, and they didn't try to share her moment to keep others comfortable. They saw Caitlin Clark and recognized her value. That's why they paired her with Nelly Korda, the #1 golfer in the world. That move wasn't random, it was respect. That was no accident. The LPGA put Caitlin right next to the face of their sport, Nelly Korda, because they weren't threatened by her spotlight. They embraced it. The crowds didn't just watch, they followed. People lined the fairways, shoulder to shoulder, phones out, buzzing with excitement. You could feel the energy, real, unscripted, and electric. And here's the big difference. The LPGA didn't try to downplay her or remind her to stay in her place. They didn't worry about dividing attention evenly. They said, we've got a superstar, let's celebrate her. Meanwhile, in the WNBA, it was the opposite. Instead of seeing her popularity as a gift, they treated it like a problem to control. The LPGA showcased Caitlin, highlighted her, and recognized that her presence lifted everyone. They leaned into the moment because when someone helps elevate your sport, you don't dim their light, you grow with it. So, why didn't the WNBA do that? Well, that's where things get uncomfortable for Cathy Engelbert. Because Caitlin Clark didn't just join the WNBA, she transformed it. She brought the most attention the league had seen in decades. Record ratings. Sold-out arenas. Merchandise flying off the shelves. Venues that had never been full before suddenly looked like playoff games. She brought a wave, and instead of riding it, the league acted like nothing was happening. From day one, veteran players went at her hard. Not in a healthy, competitive way, but in a targeted, rough, almost personal way. Cheap shots, late bumps, full-court harassment, and the league said nothing. No fines, no public statements, no effort to protect the player driving their biggest crowds and ratings. At the same time, the talk around the league pushed a different narrative, that Caitlin's popularity was overhyped, that she wasn't that special, that her fans were just casuals. But every game she played sold out. Every arena she touched turned electric. That wasn't hype, that was reality. The league didn't just mishandle it, they denied it. They had a cultural phenomenon in their hands and treated it like a scheduling headache. And Caitlin? She didn't fire back. She didn't complain. She just kept playing, quietly proving everyone wrong. But fans noticed. Sponsors noticed. Executives noticed. So when Caitlin showed up in another sport and the LPGA greeted her with open arms, "Welcome, we're glad you're here," the contrast couldn't have been louder. That difference is what sent Cathy Engelbert into panic mode. While Caitlin was shining on the golf course, Cathy was likely glued to reports, refreshing viewership numbers, sending emails with subject lines like, "We need to discuss optics." Because as the LPGA's viewership climbed, event attendance spiked, and highlight clips went viral, not because of golf, but because Caitlin Clark was there. One truth became impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark's star power doesn't belong to the WNBA. It belongs to her. It belongs to the audience. And that's every commissioner's worst nightmare, when fans realize they don't need your league to see the player they love. Pretty soon, sponsors started asking the real questions. Can we work with Caitlin without the WNBA involved? Can we build campaigns around her across multiple sports? Should we shift our marketing spend toward golf? That's when the real panic hit. Because the WNBA hasn't just used Caitlin's star power, they've relied on it. And when a league depends on something it can't control, that's not stability, that's a crisis waiting to happen. Suddenly, Cathy Engelbert's balance the spotlight strategy started to look less like leadership and more like fear. Fear of a reality where the biggest draw in league history doesn't actually need the league at all. Meanwhile, over in the golf world, Caitlin was being treated the way a true star should be, with respect and inclusion. On that course, she wasn't a target. She wasn't a controversy. She wasn't a rookie being told to earn it. She was simply an athlete among athletes. Nelly Korda didn't see her as competition for attention. She saw her as a partner in creating a bigger moment for the sport. The players laughed with her, shared tips, and made her feel part of their world. No jealousy, no side-eye, no prove you belong energy. Just mutual respect from the start. And you could see it in her shoulders, her smile, the calm in the way she carried herself. Caitlin finally looked like someone who could breathe again. It was a sharp contrast to her WNBA season, where every game felt like a test. The hard fouls, the dismissive commentary, the constant attempts to downplay her impact, it all weighed on her. But on the golf course, she didn't have to fight for space. She didn't have to prove she belonged. She didn't have to shrink to make others comfortable. She was simply allowed to be, to shine naturally. And when an athlete feels truly appreciated, understood, and welcomed, they don't forget that. That kind of treatment sticks. Then, just when it seemed like things couldn't get any bigger, someone unexpected entered the picture: Michael Jordan. Not just the greatest basketball player ever, but the ultimate example of turning athletic excellence into lasting influence. Jordan invited Caitlin to Grove 23, his private course, the meeting ground for champions, investors, owners, and decision-makers. If the LPGA event was a spotlight, Grove 23 is the boardroom. You don't get invited there because you're trending, you get invited because you matter. Jordan saw what the WNBA kept refusing to see: Caitlin Clark isn't just a talented scorer. She's a cultural force. And the best part? Jordan didn't just play a round of golf with her. He talked to her about longevity, about brand power, about owning your image instead of letting others define it for you. Somewhere in a WNBA boardroom, Cathy Engelbert probably whispered the words every commissioner dreads: she's slipping away. Because when Michael Jordan validates your path, you don't stay small. You level up. And Jordan wasn't the only one paying attention. Business leaders noticed too. Caitlin's crossover into golf sent a message that every major sponsor understood instantly: this isn't a league-made star. This is a public-made star. And that difference changes everything. When a league builds your fame, the league controls your value. But when the fans build it, the league can only try to keep up. Nike Golf, marketing firms, and event organizers all saw what happened at the prom: the buzz, the numbers, the reach, and started talking about her in a new way. Not Caitlin Clark, WNBA guard, but Caitlin Clark, global sports figure. That's Serena-level positioning. That's Tiger-level presence. And once you reach that tier, You're no longer defined by the league you play in, you define the leagues themselves. That's Naomi Osaka-level influence, the kind that crosses borders, sports, and industries. And the key point? The WNBA didn't create that. Caitlin did. Which means she can take it anywhere she wants. And that's when sponsors start asking the question that makes leagues nervous. What happens if Caitlin spends more time in golf? Because the answer is simple. The audience follows her. Not the league, not the broadcast deals her. And that truth reshapes everything, including one rivalry that's been simmering all season. While Caitlin was expanding her reach, someone else was watching and taking it personally. Angel Reese didn't need a press conference or a statement to show it. You could see it in her timing, her tone, the way she tried to insert herself into moments that weren't about her. While Caitlin was building relationships with legends, Angel was watching from the sidelines, tracking every headline, trying to keep pace in a race she wasn't built for. That's the difference. Caitlin builds quietly. Angel reacts loudly. Caitlin walks into new spaces and raises the bar. Angel questions why she isn't already at the center. Angel Reese is talented, competitive, and marketable. No one doubts that. But there's a difference between being popular and being undeniable. Caitlin is undeniable. Not because of PR or media spin, but because people respond to her instantly, naturally, without needing to be told. Angel wants respect. Caitlin attracts it. And that's why one gets invited to Grove 23, and the other gets caught reacting to it. Which brings us to the truth Cathy Engelbert can't ignore anymore. In sports, there are stars, and then there are icons.